title is Custer, 7th Cavalry, little bit on what really happened. Custer, General Custer.
I thought you said Custer.
No, Custer. Just General Custer. Right. We'll start off. Ladies and gentlemen, no, I'm in the wrong place. Members, no guests. Chair, members, no guests. God, I've just really had it, haven't I, tonight? Brain got it. Is it? Oh, good. The heat, right? I'll start off with some history because we need to get the background, because people don't realise what happened. Indian Wars. You've probably all heard about the Indian Wars. Well, they were created because the white man was corralling the Indians into reservations. And then they'd find gold on the land and they'd kick them all off and push them somewhere else. Usually where they couldn't grow crops or couldn't graze their animals. So the Indians were pretty fed up with all of this. So Chief Sitting Bull, along with the other tribes, the three main ones were Sioux, the Cheyenne and the Arapaho. They were the three main ones, and there were others. These were the tribes of the plains. And Sitting Bull called them all to a big conference, powwow, at Little Bighorn. Now, the 7th Cavalry were the main cavalry in the area, and they were tasked with sorting this out. Now, General Custer, so he wasn't actually a general, he was a lieutenant colonel, but he was a major general from the Civil War, so he still had the honorary title of general, but he was a lieutenant colonel. He was a right pain when it came to battles. He got promoted rapidly because he was there in the front with his men. So he said, "Sod this, let's go now, get them before they're ready." So what about the Gatling guns? No, they're too heavy, we can't take those. Oh yeah, take all your sabres off, they get in the way. And off they went. 600 of them roared off into the plains. And eventually they got where the Indians all were, or Native Americans. And he said, right, we're going to have 3 groups. Captain Benteen, you go that way. Reno, Major Reno, straight in, and I will go round that way, coming from the back. Sounds good. Unfortunately, they had absolutely no idea how many Indians there actually were. In excess of 6,000. Right, so what happens? Reno storms down the valley and think this is a bit easy. Could be a trap. Slow down, lads. It is a trap, right? So they do what's called a skirmish line. This is a standard practice. They all got off their horses. Every 4th man moved back and took hold of the reins of the 4 horses. So that meant you lost 25% of your men had gone straight away. So they all started shooting. Absolute rubbish, because the American cavalry had single-shot Springfields. So it was bang. Now the Indians had Henry repeating rifles and Winchester repeating rifles, and they could knock off 8 shots a minute easily. So they were just decimating. Major Reno, he lost 39 men and 3 officers very quickly, so they retreated back up the hill and tried to dig themselves in. Meanwhile, Benteen had gone round to the left, he'd gone round to the left, and he realised there's no Indians this side, I'll go back and join up with Custer. So he came back round, and there's Reno up to his neck in fire. They're all attacking him, and he's thought, what do I do? So Benteen arrived, and Reno said, please come and help us. So Benteen did. But then Reno fell apart completely. He was absolutely useless. And he was the major. So Benteen, who was the captain, took over. And he organised all the defences and got it all working, and everything was properly working. He had these guys in the right places with the rifles, each side, and they were taking out a distance, because the great thing about the Springfield was long range. the Indians were all short range, so they had to get close while he could bump them off on the way up. So they were doing a good job defending themselves. Meanwhile, Custer had gone round, thought he was near the end. He wasn't, he was in the middle. Down the hill into the valley, oh dear, hundreds of tribes come out. All these Indians were coming at him, turns round and tries to get back. They start shooting at him, he starts losing troops, he carries on and eventually gets to the top of a hill, and then they all dig in around that. Reno and co, they hear the shooting. And Benteen says, we better go and help Custer. Reno said, no, I'm not leaving here. You know, we're safer here, we'll be up there. So he didn't go and help Custer. So, what happened there? Along comes a messenger from Custer. Get here quick and bring ammunition and the pack horses. Well, no, the pack horses were miles away. And that meant the ammunition was miles away. So they ignored it and said, no, we're not going up there. Then, of course, we're in the situation that poor old Custer was fighting the rearguard action, having to move back and back and back, and the Indians were just coming. It was a bit of a rout, really. Custer lost an awful lot of men who ran, realising that they'd got nothing left, they might as well try and get out and run for it. Well, the squaws were carrying these big clubs, and they were whacking these guys over the head and killing them. So the squaws are involved in killing people, the Indians were involved in killing people, and of course they also were scalping them as the sort of thing that they do. And then they started mutilating the bodies, which is what they normally do. And Custer and his men were pushed back and back until there was just this section with Custer. No horses, they were dead, and they were using the horses as a blockade to stop the Indians coming at them. And they were just waiting and waiting and waiting for the last charge. Now, you've all heard of save the last bullet. You don't fire the last bullet. All of Custer's men committed suicide. The ones who were left at the top. They all committed suicide, and that's only recently been proved. And what they said was the troops knew that if they were taken alive, they would be tortured and mutilated. And rather than risk that, it was use your last bullet on yourself, which is what they did. Now, Major Reno was taken to court over his inability to fight, and he got away with it. Friends in high places. Captain Benteen got no reward whatsoever for what he'd done. He was considered to be as bad as Reno because they hadn't gone to sort of help Custer. Custer was probably one of the worst leaders in American history because he had no thought whatsoever for his men. It was just, glory to me, I want to get in there. And that's it, the truth of Little Big Horn, the battle.